celebration to last throughout the year. So bring your good times and your laughter too. We're gonna celebrate your party with you. Come on now. Celebration.
Hello, and welcome to another week of Shine with Curiosity and Encouragement podcast. I really need to update that promo because we are almost at 200,000. I think we'll reach 200,000 this coming week, so I really need to update that promo there. It's amazing. I mean, it took us almost a year to get to 100,000, but only what 5 months to get to almost 200,000. So we're doing really well. Getting more subscribers, getting more everything going on, and that's been absolutely awesome. I appreciate everybody out there for your support, kindness. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube and Facebook pages. As always, we are sponsored by Soul Sunshine. If you are an aspiring author out there and you want to make your dreams come true, or if you need help with marketing, formatting, illustrations, anything like that, be sure to check us out at soulsunshine.com. Well, it is December. There's only a few weeks left of 2025. This year went by quick. Man, it went by quick. I can't believe we're already coming to the end of 2025 and it's almost Christmas. It's like, where did the time go? Moving from Colorado to Jacksonville and everything that changed there, enjoying everything that's been going on, having your life change completely, and just trying to figure things out has been different, but it definitely makes the time go by quick. I will say that. It's been a rough week. There's been some sad news that I'd gotten this past week that made it hard. So if you're out there and you can send some positive vibes, some prayers, some I don't know voodoo chants, whatever, to make things a little bit more positive. I had some friends do some bad sufferings this week. However, I did release the first episode of Curiosity Tales in beta format, only available to a select few people to get some feedback on it. And it will be coming out later on this week, this coming week, as I do the final edits, get the final score together. I got the voiceovers back, and they sound absolutely fantastic. The animations all come together, so I'm looking forward to sharing all that with you guys. Well, let's bring another amazing author to the stage. This week we have Devon Fulford. Devon has written a few books here, and she's got some more books coming up. She is a Facebook friend, and she has some awesome posts, and she's definitely fun to talk to. So, without further ado, let's bring Devon to the stage. Devon,
Hi,
how you doing today?
I'm well, Stephen. I just wanted to say I send you love and positive vibes with whatever you're dealing with, and I'm really sorry to hear you've had some sad news this week.
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. It was actually just before we came on, and I don't want to discuss too much, but a close personal friend lost her daughter last night.
Oh my gosh.
She reached out to me, and I don't know how to be that person anymore. I mean, I used to be you come to me with your trauma, and I stay with me, and I'll talk to you through it, but over the course of the years, I've just gotten to the point where it's like, oh God, I don't know what to say anymore, and I don't know if I'm saying things that'll help out or hurt. I don't know anymore. So it was a bit of a hit right before, but we talked it out, and I sent her a copy of the Curiosity Tales episode 1, and it made her happy. So at least I can provide that, right?
That's wonderful.
Oh, so how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm tired and ready for a break and enjoying 60-degree weather in December in Colorado.
60 degrees. That's surprisingly enough. I said this the other day. It got down to 63 here in Jacksonville, and I was like, it's cold. It's
Uh-huh.
cold. But growing up in Colorado, I mean, we were excited to get those 40 and 50 days, 40 and 50-degree days in the wintertime. Like, yay, global warming.
I know, I know. I've spent most of my life in Colorado, and I mean, on the Front Range where I live and have lived most of that time, it's been I've been here for about 30 years, and you get those days. Like, I ride a motorcycle, and I can say I have ridden my motorcycle every month of the year in Colorado, including December and January. But we don't really seem to get snows, big snows, heavy snows, like real winter type weather until usually like February, March.
Yeah, that's very true.
January can still be kind of warm.
Very true. We did get those annoying snows, though, which is one of the reasons why I had to leave Colorado because last year it was every Friday it would snow like an inch. And
Oh yeah, right.
it was just
Yeah,
enough to get you like, "Urgh, not another snow day." Like it wouldn't close anything, and it was just cold,
yeah.
and it would just be like an inch of snow, and it would just grumble your whole day. Like, oh man.
Just enough to make the drivers all a little more neurotic than they already are on the
Oh,
roads here.
exactly, exactly. The drivers in Colorado are some of the
Oh
funniest
my.
drivers because
Mm,
Colorado is a melting pot when it comes to
mhm,
people. You've got people that come from California and Texas, but you also got people that come from California or Kansas and Nebraska, and you
mhm.
mix them all together, and nobody knows how to drive. And the next thing you know, it's just 2.5 hours to get to work. That's like
It's
10 miles
awful.
away.
Yeah, it is. It's really bad.
Absolutely agree. So introduce yourself to our viewers and let us know more about you.
Sure. Well, I mean, I mentioned I've been in Colorado for a really long time. I went to high school up in Estes Park and then immediately came down to Fort Collins to start my undergrad at CSU, where
Nice.
I now teach. So it's been pretty cool to come full circle because I didn't do the traditional academic route, just going through school and then immediately going into teaching. I did a lot of other things in the meantime, but I did my undergrad in English and creative writing, actually, and worked in retail and insurance and all kinds of really unfulfilling jobs before I actually thought for a little while that I wanted to be a therapist. And so I started doing an internship at a facility in Fort Collins that was a residential treatment facility for students that were in drug and alcohol rehab.
Okay.
And I started a counseling role, but pretty quickly a teaching role in English opened up. And I had no teaching experience at all at that time, but knowing my background, I was offered the teaching position of the English teacher. And so I had to start a master's degree in education at that point with a focus in special education to be able to serve the students who had special education needs legally. Worked there for several years, and that was really my segue into teaching. I wasn't preparing to teach at all, but I loved it because it was such a nice amalgam of both counseling and teaching, and I could write all my own curriculum. So one example, which was very daunting at the outset, but very quickly I learned that I like being able to do whatever I want in my classrooms. I taught poetry for an entire semester,
Wow.
1 year, for example, just in like the general education or English education course, just because I could. And the students were really into it because half of them thought they were going to be famous rappers when they grew up, and they really already were into writing rhymes, and poetry
Nice.
came very naturally for so many of them. Um, did not think that would eventually result in my teaching at the collegiate level, but I'm now an assistant teaching professor at Colorado State in the English department. So yeah, the full circle nature of coming back and actually being able to teach where I did my first degree, it has been pretty cool. When I first started back in 2018, I think there were probably still 8 to 10 faculty in the department who actually were my professors as an undergrad. And
Wow.
so I think that's a pretty good testament to the community of the English department at CSU, and how much people can really enjoy being there. I mean, not everyone, obviously. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I love teaching there. I love my colleagues, and I really love what I do. Um, I have 2 master's degrees, one in education, as I mentioned. I have a second one in creative writing. I've also completed a doctorate in education, and I'm a poet. So I both teach writing and I do my own writing as well. Right now, I have 4 publications, 3 chapbooks, and a full-length collection of poetry. And in 2026, I have a micro chapbook and 2 regular length chapbooks scheduled for publication as well.
Very nice. As a poet, do you follow other poets out there at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Do you have a favorite poet laureate that was ever?
Oh my gosh. That's hard, especially in Colorado. So when I did my creative writing master's, I did it at the University of Denver, and poet Joseph Hutchison was a former poet laureate of Colorado, and he was my thesis advisor. And
Oh,
I
nice.
think he actually started his term, and I apologize if I'm not correct on these dates. It was around the time I graduated, he started his term as the poet laureate of Colorado. But he was such an amazing human to work with, and he was so encouraging. At that point, I had some individual poems published, but not a collection. And he was so encouraging and constantly told me, "You're going to be published. You're going to be published," even when I really doubted myself. And then, so recently, Andrea Gibson was our poet laureate, and they passed away this summer. So, I mean, that's their poetry is just something else. I had the incredible experience last week, actually, to read one of their poems in commemoration at an event at CSU. And it was honestly tough to get through without getting choked up. Their poetry is so emotional and personal, anyhow, but unbelievably accessible. They're very much not a poet who wrote poetry filled with far-flung allusions that people wouldn't really get. It's poetry that anybody could pick up and read and enjoy and
Nice.
get and relate to. So yeah, I mean, just laureates in Colorado, I think we've been unbelievably lucky to have some really fabulous people. Another former poet, Mary Crow, was a former professor in the department at CSU as well.
Wow. Reading that what did you call it? Dedication poem?
Oh, commemoration. Yeah.
Commemoration poem. That's kind of
Yeah.
like an opus, like their
Yeah. Well,
last poem.
yeah, I did this collaboration with the director of orchestras at CSU. One of the roles I hold, in addition to my teaching, is I am the faculty director of a program called Literacy Through Prose and Poetry. And I work with graduate students and place them in schools in the community. And the grad students teach poetry to the kids in the Pooter School District in Fort Collins.
Oh wow.
I just assumed the role kind of over the summer, and then this semester is my first full semester in the role. And so because of my tie with that role, this woman, Dr. Rachel Waddell, reached out to me to see if I had poets, or I knew student poets who would like to do a collaboration where they each were they picked a song that was played by the student orchestra, and several of the songs were also composed by students, and they wrote a poem. So they did
Wow.
ekphrastic poetry. And then 1 week ago tomorrow, last Monday, there was a performance. So my students read their poetry and the orchestra played their songs. And Dr. Waddell had asked me if I wanted to read a poem of Andrea Gibson's during that time. So I was able to do that. But the focus was really on the students playing the music and writing the poetry. And it was just amazing. Just one of the coolest experiences I've been involved with at CSU. And I've had a lot.
Very nice. That sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
That leads me to a question where, as an author, one thing that I've noticed in this day and age is that our attention span is so low.
Mm.
because people scroll through social media and it's no longer the long-winded posts. It's those short little posts, the little 10-15 second reels that people watch and they interact with. How do
Mhm.
you think we get people back to reading and writing and actually doing more with getting that out there? Because I think being able to write a story or write poetry or write a song or write something creative is a foundation that we're just missing right now.
Yeah, yeah, I don't disagree. A lot of the courses I teach are pretty heavy in rhetoric. So I'm teaching rhetorical strategies, and I feel like a lot of that is about keeping up with what the audience will read, what they want to read. And I do think that we have to make changes. I don't think it's a bad thing, and I don't think we should be entirely reliant on our audience ever, or at times, yes, of course, but I also think we should write and read for ourselves. Um, so, for instance, I think like a lot of the even the papers and projects I have my students write, I encourage them to write in super short paragraphs that are even just like a sentence or two long. And they can have a full page of text, but it should be broken down differently. So we're definitely not looking at the same kind of 3 to 5 paragraph essay with 4 to 6 sentences being a basic paragraph. I think that's a standard that we were taught in, as young people, middle school, high school, and we expected to still do that in college. And when I went to school as an undergrad many years ago, that was maybe still kind of the standard, but social media, as you mentioned, has changed absolutely everything.
Okay.
So people's attention spans are so different. Um, Using different kinds of appeals too, imagery, for instance, like even use, like you mentioned, the reels or TikTok, any kind of short video. I have not been able to personally embrace that as a form of content. I'm probably missing out on opportunities there, but um, just, yeah, like figuring out how to reach the audience in new ways that feel authentic and don't feel like we're compromising our integrity, but also not getting stuck in what we've always done. So having a balance of those, I think, is pretty important.
I can appreciate that because a lot of people talk about old fashioned or the way things were. And it's like, yes, they were that way. And yes, it was rough or tough and it was difficult to write, like going through classes. I imagine, I'm not sure how old you are, but I'm 47 years old. And English class was exactly that. You had to write a 2 page essay on Moby Dick, on what it was about. And we had to actually read Moby Dick. And to
Right.
actually have somebody, one of the kids these days, read Moby Dick would be a miracle almost, because I don't even know if their attention span would be able to get past chapter one.
Oh gosh, I know. I don't teach literature very often. Most of what I teach are writing courses. Um, but my colleagues who teach literature have had to do all kinds of things to get students to continue reading. And I think in a lot of ways it's not as challenging, perhaps because mostly there are English majors taking these literature courses. They want to do the reading anyway. They're the kids that are going to be, sitting on the public bus actually reading
Okay.
like a real book, even like
Gotcha.
paper
Gotcha.
pages and not even a Kindle. Um, but yeah, I think I don't believe in I don't believe in getting stuck. I feel like change is always going to happen, and it's better to approach the world with an open mind, understanding that's going to happen, and embrace it and deal with it. And I think I've talked to one of my little brothers about this pretty extensively. We had a chaotic upbringing in ways that I feel like made us feel better about change than a lot of people, perhaps, because that just was our life. We had to expect to be moving, changing schools, for example. Um, Now I'm grateful for that. I didn't love it when it was happening at the time as a young person, but now I feel very grateful in retrospect that I don't have a problem with change. it doesn't scare me, and I don't push back against it as hard as I see a lot of other people in our generation kind of doing.
That's an experience, and that I agree with you 100%. I hope that we can eventually find that place where we're not enticed by the 5 second videos,
Yeah.
the quick hits to the dopamine of excitement for that moment, where we can
Yeah.
actually get back to the point where we are reading extended chapter books, things that we want to actually read, which was why I was so excited during like the Marvel heyday with all the movies coming out, because it led a lot of people to the comic books.
Yeah.
And then us nerds from way back in the 80s who knew all of the storylines that Marvel was coming up with came out like these professors of, well, you know, the Infinity Gauntlet is actually XYZ, and we expect this to come. That was during my heyday. Now they have things, and I'm like, I have no idea what is going on.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate that you are using your ability to adjust to change and teaching it to the next generation of people to adapt. I mean, the what's the Darwin book? Evolution of the Species, or Origin of the Species,
Oh yeah, yeah.
taught us that it wasn't it was the ones who had the most ability to adapt were the ones that were best at
Yes.
propagating species. And a lot of people take the quote and say only the strong survive, and it's like, no, that's not what he said at all. It was the ones who could adapt.
Right. Yes.
And that is what we really need to do, is we really need to adapt and stop having people say, I want it when it was 30 years ago, because it's never going to be that way again.
I mean, I definitely think nostalgia has a place in our lives, and it's okay to care about or even miss things that you can't have anymore. But being stuck there, especially mentally, if you just are always thinking that something else was better in the past, you're never going to truly be able to move forward.
Oh, and our brains won't let us think bad about it. I mean, I love 80s one hit wonders, but
Yes.
during the 80s, they weren't exactly like the best songs. Looking back,
I mean,
on
some of them were.
Agreed.
I love 80s pop rock too. That's one of my favorite genres.
I agree 100%. 80s and 90s, well, 70s, 80s, and 90s rock is like the best genre, and I continually listen to them today. So, what made you want to be an author?
I have always, literally my entire life since I can remember having thoughts about anything, wanted to be a published author. It wasn't something that came on later in life. It was the only thing I ever wanted to do. Truly wanted to do. And I mean, so many of my earliest memories have to do with learning the alphabet. There were like writing stories as a very young child, reading books on the long school bus rides back and forth to school. So much of everything I can remember from being incredibly young has to do with writing. So when I went to CSU, like I said, and did my undergrad in creative writing, and pretty much regardless of your track, because there are different ones, obviously, literature, creative writing, TEFL, TESOL, all these different tracks within the English umbrella, everyone says, well, what do you want to do with that? Be a teacher? That's just the default setting. Everyone asks you, well, what are you going to do with an English degree? Oh, you'll be a teacher. And when I was doing my bachelor's, it used to enrage me because I did not want to teach at all. I had no desire whatsoever to be a teacher. And I've always thumbed my nose at norms in society and authority a little bit. So if people wanted to box me up and put a label like that on me, I wasn't going to listen very well at all and tell them, no, I'm going to be an author. Actually, that's what I'm going to do. And that dream and ambition was put on hold for time and to do other things. And as I mentioned before, I fell into teaching, not seeking it at all, ended up absolutely loving it. And so that is professionally what I do now. But I'm also, I mean, it's such a gift to be immersed in a setting where everyone around you wants to talk about the things that you had at some point in your life felt like a weirdo or an outcast or a nerd, because you liked these things. And now all of a sudden you're becoming best friends with all these people who also want to talk about all these things. They're having the same experiences in the classrooms that you're having, so they can commiserate and celebrate and have these amazing bonding moments with you. There are things about my job that are not perfect, but I am very, very, very grateful to be doing what I do.
Very nice. Very nice. Only authors will understand this moment. The very first time you publish,
Uh,
they send you a copy of your book to go over, to look over, to make sure everything's okay.
mhm.
When you got that author's copy and you held it for the first time, what thoughts went through your mind?
Oh, I cried, just like instant tears. I'm not a crier, and yeah, I have it right here. This is the this was the first one. This came
Nice.
out in 2021. This is called Southern Atheist, Oh Honey. Um, it was published by Cathexis Northwest Press, and it was kind of one of those dream stories you hear about. I had submitted individual poems to them, and they had accepted them. And then, as part of what they did when they published them, I read the poems, and then they kind of did like an audio interview thing. And so I said, these poems are part of a larger chapbook. And after the poems, like a few weeks after the poems were published and all of that was done, they reached out and said, we'd like to see the full manuscript, since you said
Nice.
these are part of a chapbook. Which is, just mind blowing. Like,
Nice.
this is happening to me. And it took about, I think it was about 5 or 6 weeks before I heard back after I sent the manuscript, the full manuscript. But I remember everything about where I was and what I was doing and how I felt and like what the weather was and everything when I got the email back that they wanted to publish the manuscript. And yeah, from there, getting that author's the first copy, it just like the whole thing is, I mean, it was my dream.
Mhm.
It was my one dream I've had in life. And I mentioned having a lot of chaos. I think I've never been a person who set a lot of goals for myself. I wing it. I kind of always have. And obviously sometimes that works out just fine, but also not the best plan, not to not have a plan. Um, but that's the one thing that's always been constant for me, was to be a published author and actually have my own book. And yeah, you got me back in my feels right now. It's fun to remember. I don't think about it all that often, but yeah, I mean, now I have a couple of publications and some more forthcoming next year, and it's like it hasn't waned, the feeling, the like encompassing joy, I guess, is the
Mhm.
best way
Oh yeah,
to
no,
describe
I
it.
I know exactly what you're saying. It's
Yeah.
a feeling that only authors get, and it's a feeling that they get on their first book when they can actually tangibly hold that book in their hand. I don't think digital authors get that same
Oh,
authenticity of, oh look, there's a link to my book right now.
yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
actual physically holding of the book in your hand
Yeah.
for the first
Mm.
time. And you've held many, many books in your hands before this moment, but at this moment, it smells different. It looks
Yeah.
different. It feels different.
Yeah.
And when you see your name on that cover and you see your picture on the back cover, and when you open it up and it's these words that you've written, that you know, that you just feel and you put everything into, it's a moment that's really undescribable. And only published authors really understand
Yeah, I agree. It's very hard to describe. I just attempted and floundered around all over the place.
that. No, you did fantastic. You did fantastic. But getting into the feels of it, I mean, that's why we write. That's why we put it
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
One of the things that's been the hardest aspect for me to talk to people on is that a lot of people want to write a book because they think it'll make them rich.
Oh,
They
geez.
they think they're going to be the next, Stephen King or
Yeah.
George R. Martin, and they're going to write the next, Lord of the Rings, and you're like, it's not really like that.
I mean, maybe you never know, but I would say, like, if somebody is saying they want to write for that reason, I would probably want to know more about their actual motivation. If if it's just to get rich, there are way easier ways to
Oh
do it than trying to
yeah.
write and traditionally publish. Like, if you want to self-publish and go that route, maybe you could make a lot of money. I don't know.
No,
I've never done that.
no, it. A lot of people don't understand it. They think that if you just publish a book, you're just going to naturally become rich because of that book. And a lot of people have delusions of grandeur on so many levels that you don't want to poke that ego, but you're kind of like, yeah, wait till you come back down a little bit once you have it published.
Yeah,
but, it,
yeah.
but
I mean, too, with poetry is like its whole own beast, separate from nonfiction or fiction. Definitely not where you're going to get wealthy.
come on, it inspires so many lovers and poets out there.
Let's hope so. I hope it was just poetry.
So, who is the inspiration for your books? Or I guess I should say, what is, since it's poetry?
Me.
There you go.
I mean, largely it really is. So my first book, The Southern Atheist, is a memoir in 29 poems of the first 29 years of my life. So it's one poem per year.
Wow.
And my full length collection, Gulp, and the more recent, which actually just celebrated its 1 year anniversary or birthday, I should say. I don't know, more like a birthday. Yeah, 1 year birthday was yesterday, so that's very
Nice.
fun. Oh, this is Gulp. Suppose I should show you my books too. This is
Very
Gulp.
nice.
And then Onus, which came out in August of this year. Onus is a little bit of an extension of Gulp, but both of them are really centered on coming of age and identity and issues that contemporary women face being female in America and growing up. I grew up in the South before we moved to Colorado. So that shaped my identity in certain ways.
Gotcha.
I was really into the punk scene as a teenager and in my 20s. And so that shaped my identity in certain ways. And all of that comes out in these stories. And I say stories because it is poetry, but I write prose poetry. And a lot of what I have published in the past few years has been very autobiographical. I'm working on stuff right now that's not as me centered. um, but I think everything in writing, we all pull from our own experiences in some ways, right? Like even
Absolutely.
fiction comes from things that we know, things that we learn, things that we've experienced or felt. So I would say, yeah, right now, I mean, I dedicated one of these books to little Devon because
Nice.
that's, I stuff that she needed to know as a little person that she didn't know, that she knows now as a bigger person.
I love that thought, that a memoir of poetry,
Mhm.
because when it comes to memoirs, a lot of people, will quote unquote exaggerate a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of things that come from their life. It's not autobiographical where everything is absolutely facts. Here's the facts. I was born May 10th at 7:03 p.m. and then go
Right.
forward from there.
Right.
So with memoirs, you can actually add to that. And I love the idea of it being poetry, because if you are a fan of poetry and you are a fan of biographies, you're going to get a lot from it and getting to know you. And you're going to be able to take that reader onto an emotional journey. Wow. That is a brilliant idea. Very cool.
Oh,
Very
thanks.
cool.
Thank you.
Do you use your books in your classroom?
Oh, this is a funny one. I don't right now, and it's been an interesting challenge for me to overcome imposter syndrome
Oh,
and feel as though I belong in this new world. I have a lot of confidence in what I do, but at the same time, I don't know. It's art and it's personal and it's pretty raw. I write about some pretty challenging topics. I like to say that I like to tackle topics that would make us squirm when we talk about them, and I do. I talk about some pretty hard stuff at times in my writing and in my classes. In fact, I taught a poetry class a couple years ago, and the students didn't learn until the very end of the semester that I had a published poetry book. I just had the one at the time, and they were so mad that I didn't tell them sooner. And one of them even said, "You didn't think that maybe we would take you more seriously if we knew you had a published book?" They were joking. They were amazing. It was one of my favorite classes, and they were very, very involved in the class. Like, they definitely took it seriously. So it was not serious, but yeah, I've started talking about my books in the classroom a little bit more this year. But that's, yeah, it's a look. I've also been able to do some really great readings this year in Fort Collins, where CSU is located, and uh, putting that out in front of the students has helped open the door a little bit, because I've had students come to all of my readings, and so
right.
now they know a little bit more about that side of me.
Very nice. I know exactly what you mean by imposter syndrome, and it is a very difficult thing to overcome. What did it for me was that if I can just affect one person, if
Yeah.
one person buys my book, then I am considered a published author and professional author, because somebody actually paid for my book.
Hmm.
And that has gone a long way for me. I may not sell 1 million copies, I may not sell 1,000 copies, but if I can sell one copy,
Hmm.
it is puts me into that world. It puts me into that life. It puts me into that title. And with that, I can actually feel like, okay, you are a published author. And I really want to read your books now, because poetical memoir is just, it's such a brilliant idea. I really want to do that. Putting yourself out there with your poetry, with your writing, what kind of feedback have you got?
I mean, I'm trying to actually think if there has been anything negative, and I really don't think there has been. If people have negative feedback, they've kept it to themselves, I suppose, at this point. Um, I'll say, very recently, I mentioned having been able to do some readings in Fort Collins this year, and back in November, I was invited to do this reading event called the Writers Harvest, and it's a national event, and it's a food drive. So people come. It's before Thanksgiving, and everybody brings canned food or non-perishables, and then there is a poetry reading that evening. I was invited, and the two other poets with whom I read are well-established poets. They both have Guggenheim Awards. They
Wow.
have so many full-length books. They're just like people I admire and respect so much. They asked me to read in the middle, so I had to go between the two of them. And I just decided I'm gonna own this, and like go leading up to it, I kept saying that I was like, I'm reading with these Guggenheim, I kept saying like the Guggenheim winners, like this was such a thing. Um, and I felt amazing when I read. And the audience, it was a decent sized audience, but it was largely comprised of a lot of both undergrad and graduate students. And so many of them came up to me after the reading asking if they could take a creative writing class with me in the future, asking where they could buy my other books. Our campus bookstore had Gulp on sale, but they wanted to buy all my books. They wanted me to sign their books that they had already purchased. Like that felt, I think, really impactful because my students are my audience in the classroom already, and because I don't necessarily share my poetry with my students in the classrooms, knowing that it does impact young people in the ways that it did really felt incredibly moving to me. So that's some of the best feedback I've gotten. I have an amazing community on social media. I have wonderful friends. I mean, friends from as early as elementary school, all the way to friends I met, over the weekend, and friends from so many former jobs. My social media community is pretty robust, and when I have books come out, people really are incredibly supportive by the books and let me know that they love them in various means, that they were moved, that they cried, that they read the book twice, that they had to share it with their sister who they thought would really relate to this one particular line in one particular poem. I've gotten incredible feedback. And I'm so fortunate because I don't usually solicit it. Once in a while I do. But yeah, overwhelmingly positive and really supportive feedback.
Very nice. That should help you get over the imposter syndrome right there.
Well, yes.
You're affecting people's lives. People are reading your books and they're actually being touched by your stories. I mean, when it comes to imposter syndrome, most people who have it are very emotional. It's not overly confident. It's more along the lines of, this kind of came easy to me, and it doesn't seem like it should have been that easy. Because we read these stories about how hard it was to overcome these things and to do all this and to go into that, to have it just all of a sudden come to you and land in your plate and you got through it. But it was because it was meant to be. And now you're showing that your work is being touched by so many people. Don't let imposter syndrome ever stop you.
I won't. Actually, I don't do New Year's resolutions, but I do. I set solstice intentions, and I leave something in the year that we just had, and intentionally leave it behind, and then take something forward with intention into the new year. So that's coming up in a week from today. And actually, my intention last year that I left in 2024 was imposter syndrome. So all of 2025 has me been functioning on the other side of that for the first time. So
Good for
it
you.
feels pretty cool.
So winter solstice, then I take it. Do you also do one for summer solstice, or you just
Nope.
do the winter?
Just the winter, just the once a year. Yeah, one of my best friends has a solstice gathering every year, with a lot of food and a lot of rituals, and part of it is both leaving and setting intentions, and that's my favorite thing to do. I've been thinking about what I'm going to do this year for weeks, and I'm still not entirely sure. Sometimes I don't even know until I get there, and it's like, okay, that's the thing.
Very nice. You ruined one of the questions coming up.
I know. I'm sorry.
All good. It's all good. So
You got me thinking earlier.
that's good though. That's good. The point of this is to just let free flow go on. So I'll figure out a way to bring that back. Where do you want to take your story? Do you want to stay in the poetry and the prose? Do you want to go to a novelization? Do you want to just take anywhere?
I love what I'm doing. I do love writing poetry, writing the type of poetry that I write. But like I said, I'm already kind of moving in a new direction where the things that I've started writing are less autobiographical. I'm dabbling in eco poetry, which I have massive respect for people who write it well. I do not. So I'm trying. Like that's something I've been pushing myself to do in the last few months. So the poetry I am writing centers some of the specific locations that have been very important to me in my life, specifically the New Mexico desert and the central and southern Oregon coast. So I'm trying to kind of think of a way to pit these two together, like sort of a juxtaposition, but also with some overlap of how they can be similar in the story. I also have decided very recently that I want to pitch an article about my autoimmune disorder. I have a really rare autoimmune disorder, and my journey with it over the last few years has been very challenging and weird, and hopefully interesting enough to a broad enough audience that somebody will want to publish this article that I've started comprising mostly in my head. I have a little bit of an outline. I've been playing with titles, which I usually do last, but in the pitches that I want to make, you have to have a possible title for the piece. So I've been playing with that, and yeah, so that might be on the horizon. We'll see how that goes.
Well, to keep me updated on that, I'd love to read that.
I will.
My ex-wife has MS, so she
Oh,
got diagnosed when we were only together for a few years. So I went through that whole journey with her on MS. I understand the autoimmune diseases on there, but that's something if you need help with as well, I'd love to be able to help you out with anything. Getting
oh,
that
I
out there,
appreciate that.
'cause
Thank you.
that would be. I'm a firm believer that creativity needs to be put out there. It needs to
Yeah,
be, and a lot of people will stop. They'll get it all the way up to that point, and then they'll stop. And I'm a firm believer in just shoving you over the edge, over the just go, put it out there. Who cares what anybody else thinks? Just do it. Not to sound like a nightmare,
absolutely.
but I mean that needs to happen.
You gotta jump. Yeah. You gotta try. You have to, I mean, it's always better to try and not receive the outcome that you're hoping for than always wondering what if.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What if will kill you in the long run?
Oh, no. No. I don't live life like that.
Oh, good advice. Speaking of advice, what is the best advice you've ever received?
That's so hard. I've received so much good advice, I think, in my life. I mean, I kind of think it'd probably be something along the line of what we were just discussing, not to be concerned about the others. Do it if you want to do it. Make it happen for yourself. Um, and own it. Like have the confidence in it, believe in it. That's not always easy for anyone. And like I mentioned, I'm a pretty confident person overall. Thank you to my mom. 100% my mom's doing. Um, but everyone questions themselves and doubts themselves and falters. But I think also surrounding yourself with supportive people, unbelievably important.
Oh, absolutely.
For your mental health, your physical health, your humor, your laughter, your joy, your just life experience. I think having people on your team who are always going to believe in what you're doing, who are going to show up for you, who are going to listen when things suck. I think that's so important too. Um, not just being there for people when things are going great, but actually also showing up when things are really hard, and being there for both. So I work really hard to do that for the people in my life that I love. I don't believe in, I came up with a name for it. Now I'm trying to remember what it was. I used to call it like tragedy tourism. Like somebody, like if something really, really bad happens in your life, people will come out of the woodwork
Oh yeah.
as supportive. And it really just feels like they kind of want to get the dirt. They want to hear the details. They want to be in
Mhm.
on what's going on.
Mhm.
And then they disappear.
Oh, wow.
And they're not friends. They're not people that you can actually rely on. I'm definitely off on a tangent now, but yeah,
It's true.
I really get upset about that kind of concept.
I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that want to see other people fail because it
Yeah.
makes their life less miserable.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and I've come to realize that is that the people who are the most miserable will come out during your worst times just so they can gloat a little bit that your life is worse than their life.
Right.
And it's like, okay, um, you have done absolutely nothing in your life to show, and I'm putting myself out there, but it's such a hit to the pride and the ego, like especially when you're a little insecure about it, like,
Yeah.
ooh, that didn't feel so good, and it definitely takes you back into there.
It does. Absolutely. And there's just no reason for it. I don't believe in being cruel to other people. I you might have seen, I don't know, I made a post kind of recently on Facebook because I've had all of these people, I'm not generalizing. I've had all these men connect with me on Facebook, and then with time and as I'm posting things, they just come out and say really nasty, mean stuff, like sarcastic, rude comments on my posts, and they wanted to connect with me in the first place. And it just feels like, what is the point of this? Why would you just be rude to somebody on social media ever? Period. Anyway.
Agreed, agreed,
I hate
100%.
it. I hate keyboard warriors. I hate people who hide behind their screens and say nasty things about people because they know they're never actually going to have to meet this person face to face and do anything in person. And I just don't believe in being cruel in general.
It's unfortunately a product of our environment at the moment with
Yeah.
politics. It's just
Oh,
gotten
I
so
know.
ugly and nasty
So
that
ugly.
people are willing to throw, pardon the expression, but shit out there.
Yeah.
Just, and it's like, why? Why? I think it goes back to our whole attention span, where our attention span
Mm,
is becoming lower and lower and lower. So rather than learning about somebody and getting to know them personally, or taking the time to actually just ask questions,
yeah.
it's so much easier, and it gives you that dopamine hit of just calling them a horrible person, or relishing in their bad days, or I mean, even just trying to what do you call it? The traumatic, the traumatic visitors, or the traumatic
Oh, trauma tourists. Yeah.
trauma tourists. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of those people are out there that if you post one thing about today was a horrible day, that's when you start getting those comments of, oh, what happened? What's going on? It's like, where were you a couple months ago when everything was on point? Everything was great.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a good point about attention span and the time it takes to actually get to know somebody versus making snap judgments based on superficial characteristics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Superficial characteristics. We need to write that one down. That needs to be the name of an AI model.
Oh, geez.
So I'm just curious, do you have
Mhm.
thoughts on AI?
Of course I do. I have to. I'm a college professor. I'm a college writing professor. Generally speaking, I am not an advocate, but I am also not someone who is going to say this is the worst thing that has ever happened to the world. My broad stance is that this is not going anywhere anytime soon. And if we use it as a tool and hone it in ways that can enhance certain aspects of our lives, I think that's a possibility. I've been teaching this particular course. It's a upper division writing course for students who are in the arts and humanities. And it's not usually entirely majors in the arts and humanities, but it's even if they're not majoring in something in that area, they still have a love for poetry or music or painting or, you know, whatever it might be. And we have amazing conversations in this class about AI. The students, and most of these students are like early 20s ish, because it's an upper division course. They are vehemently against the use of AI. For writing, for art creation, for music, for theater. My class this semester taught me about this AI actress that a bunch of major studios were having a bidding war about this actress that wasn't even real. And they had just used a composite. I didn't know anything about this. They told me all of these things and taught me about it. So, yeah, it's such a hot topic at the university level, obviously, but there's just constantly workshops and professional development and this session and the, you know, grant money if you want to start talking about it in this course and all kinds of different stuff. And honestly, I'm a little bit sick of the topic at this point, given my job. And I kind of would rather it just not exist, but I know that's not realistic. And I tend to be fairly realistic despite being an artist.
For me personally, I use it as a tool. And
Yeah.
when I say use it as a tool, I went to school for computer animation, and this was 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole industry has changed. Well, I wrote a children's book, and I illustrated it myself, and I wanted to turn it into an animation. Like, that was my dream, is to turn it into an animation. And everybody I went to, the cost to do animation on one book was in excess of between $5,000 and $30,000 for like 5 minutes worth of animation.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, I cannot afford that. So when it comes to AI, I put my characters into the AI, put my creativity into it, describe them to a T, and I've gone back and forth with how they're supposed to look, what the qualities of them are. And I created this animation from them. And the same feeling that I got when I held my book for the first time is the same feeling I got when I saw, you can see curiosity and encouragement back there. Those are my characters. When I saw them animated for the first time, I had the exact same feeling. I cried when I saw them actually come to life. And over the course of the last 6 months, I've actually turned it into an animated series where I've done everything for it. But I've had people come out and help me with the original song for the opening. They're also helping me out with the score, and then voiceovers. I've gotten professional voiceovers for it and put it all together, and it sounds amazing. And it was all done animation wise with AI, but it was my input and my feelings and me going over it and being meticulous with it. And I feel like AI is very good for that. Unfortunately, AI has been taken over by the same guys who comment on your post, the horrible stuff. They're taking AI into that direction. And it's like, oh, can we have better people putting programming into it, please?
Yeah. Ugh.
Yes, unfortunately, that is the number one aspect of AI, is people using it for the wrong reasons.
Oh yeah. People using it for reasons that I never would have even had fathomed if you just told me about it a couple of years ago.
We're just waiting for that whole cybernet thing, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We all saw Terminator.
Yep.
So We're coming to the end of the show here, and this has been a fantastic conversation. I am so glad that you brought up resolutions, and you don't do resolutions, you do solstice, and
Mhm.
that is absolutely really cool. And I hope you make a post about your solstice and what you're leaving behind and what you're going forward with. I do
Yeah.
make resolutions, and this past January, for this year, I made resolutions to have more gratitude. So I want to ask you, what do you have gratitude for?
I love this question. Everything. I have a daily gratitude practice because it's a guiding principle in my life always. And I feel for me anyhow, and probably others, you have to practice it all the time because
Mhm.
it's it's not something that if you genuinely have it that you can just have when things are going great and when you're celebrating wins in your life. You have to have it also when things are very, very hard. Um,
Absolutely.
and I've had a lot of very, very hard in the last few years in particular. And so I'm grateful for my health, my family, my job, my friends, most things in the world right now, in my world that I can control, not the world at large. I'm not grateful for everything in the world. Um, uh, I mean, at this, like, I haven't always loved living in Colorado, but right now I'm extremely grateful to be living in Colorado. Yeah, I'm filled with gratitude, honestly. So I'm glad
I,
this is the last thing we're talking about today.
I like what you said. It's when you're at your lowest or at your worst that you need to find something that you're grateful for, because
Yeah,
that'll pull you out of it even quicker than when your cup is overflowing.
yeah,
It's easy to find gratitude when your cup is overflowing, but even just being able to say, "I'm grateful that the weather is over 40 degrees today," or "I'm grateful that I
yeah,
have clean clothes or a roof over my head." To be able to just be gratitude for that is absolutely important, even at your worst times.
definitely. Yes, agreed.
Well, before we go, is there anything you wish to share with our viewers about how they can get in contact with you about upcoming releases, news, and what's to come?
I need to update my website, but my website, definwords.com, is the best place to see all of my publications all together in one place. You can order them from all of the various outlets where they are available. You can also connect with me on Facebook and Instagram. My social media is a fine place for anyone who wants to learn more about my books and what's coming out in the next year. If you're going to be at AWP in Baltimore in March, I'll be there. You connect with me, come say hi. I will actually be working at a booth for roadside press for at least part of the conference and doing a couple readings and then just going to as many workshops as I possibly can. So
Nice.
it'll be a great time. But yeah, I'm very available on the internet, so there's a lot of avenues to
I
connect with me if
I
you'd
concur
like.
with you. That's how I found you. That's how we
Yeah.
connected, and that's how we got to you being on the show. So I definitely agree with that. If you want to reach out to Devon, her website is listed on YouTube on this page as well as the Facebook pages. Devon, I want to thank you for coming on to Shine with Curiosity and Encouragement. You have been a fantastic guest. Is there anything you wish to say before we leave?
Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful hour to just chat, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
You're most certainly very welcome. I always love hearing authors and their stories about how they came to be, where they're going. I appreciate people who are willing to put themselves out there
Oh,
and
yeah.
and have their creativity and have their dreams shared with everybody, and to be able to do that. That's why I love this platform, and that's why I love bringing on authors.
Well, you're doing a heck of a job. Keep it up.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hang out in the green room while I up the show and we'll talk for a few moments.
Sounds good.
That was fun. I love meeting new authors, and the idea of having a poetry well, I said it 4 times, and now that I'm ending the show, I can't even think of it. Memoir, a poetry memoir is absolutely cool, man. That is a cool thing to do, and I'm gonna have to check out her books. Well, I want to thank you all for sharing your Sunday evening with me here on Shine with Curiosity and Encouragement. We are live every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Pacific. Be sure to check us out next week. I hope everybody's having a wonderful and safe holiday season, and we will see you guys next week with another episode of Shine with Curiosity and Encouragement podcast. Have a wonderful week.
Ever dreamed of seeing your name on the cover of a book? As a book publisher, we understand the challenges of self-publishing. If you're lost in the process, wondering about illustrators, book coaches, or formatting issues, worry not. At Soul Sunshine, we're here to guide you. Let's turn your dream into reality. Contact us to get started.